All right. Good morning. Um, Thanks for coming back. If you came back on this last day of April, um, real quickly, two things. People complained about the lighting yesterday, that I was too dark and it was tough to see. And that was my intent. I really don't want people looking at me. I think there might be something to this whole the camera saps your soul thing, that primitive, not so primitive maybe, people say will do, that'll suck your soul out of you. And I don't think, it's like some metaphor or metaphysical thing, where like it literally is sucking your soul out of you. But I think that maybe putting yourself on camera too much can feed your ego and vanity until you lose track of who you really are. Believe your own hype. One of the biggest mistakes any person can make. Um, so that's why, like I said, I'm not looking to be famous. Um, I just feel, I don't know, impelled to do this. So we'll see how it goes. But so that's so much. The lighting's better, but I'd really just like you listening to me, not looking at me. The other complaint I got was that I was talking too softly, or the volume needs to go up. So we'll try that again today, see how it goes. Um, I took a couple notes just from Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was I started doing this. Um, uh, I couldn't believe that I left off one of the major, like, secret sound societies of the 7 or 8 cabals that battle each other to rule the world. Um, and that one is the royal family. I mean, I don't know if we're talking about just the royal family of England, which is not the same bloodline that reigned over England for centuries before this new one moved in, but that's a whole another story in and above itself. But I just wanted to say, along with the Vatican slash Jesuits, whichever faction that is that's corrupted the Catholic Church, and the Zionists, and whichever, facet of Judaism is the power crazed portion that does not represent Jews as a whole any more than the Jesuits or the Vatican represents Catholics as a whole, along with the White Dragon Society, which is the Asian secret society, and whatever it is the mafia slash organized crime slash Cosa Nostra goes by in 2025. To that, we can add the royal family and their, like, bizarre bloodline. But that's a story for another day. I just didn't want anybody thinking I was leaving off the royal family because they're as bad as everybody else. Um, so there's that. And one way I'd like to display, like, how these different factions or different cabals that are battling for control are, is the way they point the fingers at each other, because they're all doing the same thing, but they want to scapegoat the others. And I think a good way to look at this is the movie Spotlight, which is a great film. I love that movie. Won the Oscar for Best Picture. Michael Keaton is in it as like an ethical editor. And Rachel McAdams, who I think is great, a terrific actress, as well as lovely and sensual. And Mark Ruffalo, who's also a very good actor, despite being the scum of the earth or an anti-American globalist, who knows what. But a very good actor. Anyway, so they're all in Spotlight, and that's all about how the Catholic Church is molesting kids, and there are a lot of priests who seem to think molesting kids is actually a good thing. And so I would just offer that Hollywood making a movie pointing fingers at some other institution for being loaded with child molesters is hypocrisy of the highest order. There is no differential wiggle room between the amount of child molesting that's gone on inside the Catholic Church compared to what's gone on inside of Hollywood. And, obviously two different factions, but neither is better than the other. Now, who controls Hollywood? I mean, that's up to you to maybe figure out, or a discussion for another day, but not today. Okay? And I'm not saying you should presume it's the Zionists, not the Jews, but the Zionists, because it might as well, it could be China. Seems to me that Hollywood's just as catered to China as they are to the Zionists. So I'm not pointing any fingers, you know. Um, I'm just saying they're terrible. Okay, they're terrible. They're abusing kids. They do it a lot. It's in fact, here's a story, a quick story. I remember a guy in advertising once. We were talking about, and this was years ago when we were talking about how shitty. Pardon me, I'm trying not to swear. How lousy the product out of Hollywood had become. And this advertising guy, who was a pretty liberal guy, actually, said to me, people think Hollywood is like a movie production industry with a child abuse problem. But what's really going on is that Hollywood is a child abuse and grooming industry that makes movies on the side. Um, so I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying somebody said that to me once, and he was a fairly powerful executive in the advertising industry and quite a liberal guy, honestly. So that always struck me as weird. Um, oh, okay. So the main thing I wanted to talk about today was transcending good and evil. I mean, you hear that a lot. What the heck was that? I didn't even touch anything. Will I get that again if I say transcending good and evil? Will I get the balloon thing again? That was really weird. Okay, let's forget about that and move on. I probably nudged something of which I am unaware. Like I said, I'm an amateur podcaster. Um, uh, so where was I? Oh yeah, no good and evil. I've noticed, there's always people in often artists, but sometimes politicians who are like, I've transcended good and evil, or there is no good and evil, or humanity needs to transcend or get past good and evil. And I've noticed, like, over my lifetime, the people who say things like that usually are evil. I mean, it seems that way. Um, but let's get past that. Let's say that, like, in the greater universal scheme of things, there is no good and evil, because I mean, even in the Garden of Eden, they were told, hey, you take this, you'll get in life, the tree of knowledge, you will know the difference between good and evil. So, maybe that's what got us here in the first place. And in the greater scheme of the universe, where everything is in balance and the material world is caught between, polarities, like they say in the Kabbalion, which I recommend you read. We'll get to that someday. Anyway, so if beyond this material realm there is no sense of good and evil, and it's all like one big, blob thing mixed together, I would still offer that past good and evil, we've got life and death. And life is the continuing of existence, while death is the end of existence. So even if we take and let's, like, I think, therefore I am. I have a consciousness. I am real. In whatever this realm is. I don't know what this realm is we're in. I don't think it's what we're told it is. But I still do have a consciousness. I do exist. I am alive. When I die someday, far away, hopefully, um, I will no longer exist. I cease to exist, at least in this material plane. I don't know what for sure goes on the other side, but I'm confident and 100% sure that something of me is going elsewhere with my soul. So even if there's no good or evil, we can see the contrast between life and death, like um, existence and non-existence. So even taking good and evil off the table, um, we still have a contrast between being and nothingness. And being seems preferable to nothingness to me. I like existing. I can't imagine not existing. And yet that seems to be the ultimate punishment. I'm not even sure I believe in hell anymore. I just think you just go away. I think that's it. Like, you lose your soul. That's it. You're done. Finished. Complete. Not nirvana, but nothingness. Where are we on this? Okay. Well, we're going to go to 11 minutes, not 10. Because the final point I want to make on good versus evil, life versus death, is even if this is a program of some sort, even if we are trapped in this um, simulation matrix, which I'm not sure that's what this is exactly, but I do think it's, possible. Anything's possible. Um, Even from that effect, you've got like ones and zeros, and the one is something, and the zero is nothing. So put me on the side of one. We are all one, right? Pray to the one, right? I mean, I don't know. I just came up with that literally right now. So I would walk away with, don't trust people who say, like, there's no such thing as good and evil. In this material world, there is good and there is evil. And I would say that good things are things that promote life, things that move life forward, you know? And The ones and the zeros thing. Even if this is a program, everything's programmed with ones and zeros. Ones is something, zeros is nothing. So there you go, Rule of Three, which is one of my favorite things. In fact, Hollywood just announced they're making a movie called Rule of Three, and of course, it's a negative movie, very, very anti-life. You know, so I would guess our allies should be the pro-life people, right? And our enemies should be the anti-life people. And I would say if you look to your politicians and your leaders and your artists and your creative people, which ones are promoting life, which ones are promoting anti-life? The anti-life are our enemy. That's how you can figure this out. Anti-life people are our enemy. That's it. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll try to do more stuff to make this seem slightly less amateur. Thank you. 12 minutes. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this under 10.